Hey everyone, welcome to Big Kev's World Show. We got a podcast here, interview with this crazy lady. Lori from you are from Texas. You were born and raised in Texas, right?
I was, yes, Dallas area.
So I have to ask, were you a sports fan growing up or no?
I actually was. Yeah, I was. And unfortunately, I don't know if I should say unfortunately. I mean, it just depends on who you are. I'm still a diehard Cowboys fan.
Oh, I got a couple of Cowboys fans that are sub to me, so I'm sure they'll love that.
My
We just won't
boyfriend's
tell.
not.
I just won't tell Mel because Mel's from South Jersey. She's a Phillies Eagles girl, so we just won't.
Fair enough. It's okay.
Fair enough. But so you did you try out for sports growing up, or
Yeah, actually, I did do some sports. Um, when I want to say it was probably like middle school, early middle school.
Mhm.
I played softball. And it was stupid fast pitch softball, and I was absolutely horrible at it. And I never could catch the ball. I could throw it, but couldn't catch it. So I did that for a few years, and then I got out of that, and I did drill team because cheering was just way too much. Like it was like I couldn't do half the things they could. Um, so I just decided that was the best route to go. And then after that, um, I started rodeoing. And I did that, oh my gosh, pretty much my whole life, starting out with play days and then moving my way up to rodeos. And then in high school, I did High School Rodeo Association. And then I did college rodeo.
so anybody that's never done rodeo before, how difficult is it to get into rodeo?
Difficult, I don't know if difficult's the right word. It's not necessarily like hard to get into it, it's just expensive to get into it. Um, I was very blessed to have my aunt and them where we grew up with horses. So, I was taught to ride. And then, depending on what events they put us in. And of course, they started us at play days, which some people don't know what those are, which is surprising to me, I guess, because I feel like maybe everyone would know what that is. But play days is just like kind of a local get together type event. So you can still win like ribbons and trophies and things. Um, but it's mostly not as serious as like the higher up competitive level. So like your times and things like that, not they don't necessarily matter. They matter, but they don't. So,
So you got, so growing up, you were pretty much where you could would you consider yourself a tomboy, kind of like a country radio girl?
a country, yes. Tomboy, no.
Ah,
Absolutely not. Lacey, my sister was the tomboy.
yeah, yep, yeah.
Yeah,
Speaking of, see, you guys are twins, which
we are.
a lot of people who don't know that know they're twins. And usually, I've always been told that twins have different personalities. So, explain your personality compared to Lacey's personality.
Um, okay, so like I'm very like, well, I this is basically how my whole life has been perceived to me. I'm basically legally blonde meets so I'm like the more ditzy, fun, like vibrant colors, don't really necessarily care if my outfits match, just like to have a good time type personality. Um, I don't take things as seriously. My sister, however, is very Commodore. Like that was kind of what we called her growing up. She was very like take no crap, won't be no crap, tomboy. Like if you hurt my twin sister, I'm gonna beat you up. Like she was very took things way more serious and just doesn't think certain things are funny when the rest of the world would think it's funny type personality. She can still have really good fun and be silly like when we're together. I think she's a little more relaxed, but individually, like when people always like met one of us and didn't know the other one, but then would run into the other one, they would just always be like, "Oh, you changed your hair. Oh, you did this." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" Like I have no idea who they are. And then it would dawn on me they'd be like talking about my sister Lacey, and I'd be like, "Oh, you must be talking about my sister Lacey." Like, it's like, "Oh, I thought something was different." So, yeah, we're definitely two complete different personalities.
I could definitely tell because I'll say this, ladies and gentlemen, I played with both of them on Red Dead Redemption 2. If you guys should know, that's the shoot 'em up game. You know, the yeehaws and the and so definitely can tell there's different personalities there. My brother and I have different personality. He's more of a Commodore. I'm more of the let's just have fun.
Goofy
Let's
laugh.
do this.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I understand that growing up with that. So when you did drill team, were you did you in high school? Did you date any of the football players? Because usually they always try to say that there's some football players there. So
No,
just
no. In fact, we were actually pretty outcasts. Like we had our own little cliques of people and stuff, and it was mostly like. And when we were in high school, country wasn't cool, basically. So if we wore ropers and stuff, we got made fun of a lot. Um, we were just, it was kind of like secondary drill team. It wasn't even like the cool drill team.
yeah. When I was playing football, a lot of people were like, "Hey, did you ever date? Did you ever date like cheerleaders?" And I was like, "No."
Hi, baby.
So I was like, "No, I never dated any of those cheerleader kind of people." I was,
No, no jocks. No jocks. I wouldn't say I was like a nerd, but I wasn't like popular. So we weren't popular. Lacey was definitely more popular than me.
I definitely wasn't popular. Even though I played football and played quarterback, I still was not popular than anybody else.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I know that you started playing Red Dead Redemption. What got you into wanting to play? Were you always playing video games, or did you do it because your aunt Brandy and Lacey were doing it, or just?
So I mean, we've always kind of played video games growing up and stuff together and played with my aunt, but once I had like kids of my own and I got too busy and like I barely watched TV or anything. But once my kids got a little older, then they were into video games. So I got them like I think their first system was literally like an Xbox 360 or something. And so then I started like introducing them to games. But I didn't really own like a gaming system. Usually the people I dated or was with had one and they were really big into it. But Lacey told me that she had upgraded her gaming system because she's always had one. And she was playing Red Dead with Aunt Brandy, and it was like an online thing. You know, you don't have to buy a disc and do all this stuff. You can just pay for the online, and you get to. And I've always been interested in wanting to like see the game, but I didn't really know anybody who played the game.
Right.
And so Lacey was like, "You really should get into this. Like, we can play. You can play with me. It would be more one-on-one time with me and then Aunt Brandy, and so like all of us can kind of hang out together." But since my sister doesn't live in Texas, y'all, she lives in Oklahoma, so I don't get to see her, but a few times a year. And so we're always on the phone like first thing in the morning going to work, and so we just thought that would be like a good thing to do where we could actually spend like time together and visit and chit chat and all that. And so she convinced me to do it. And so me and my ex bought the card and signed up all the things. And of course, you know, you were there from the start. I had no clue what I was doing.
I think the first couple of times playing, they left you in the middle of Blackwater. If anyone's ever played Red Dead, you know that could be a griefer central area. So I went all the way from Emerald Station to go pick her up because she didn't.
Because I didn't have fast travel. I had like nothing. I was starting out from nothing. So they're like speeding off to everywhere, and I have to run all the way across the map to meet them. I was so honestly, a lot of times I would feel dumb or embarrassed because I didn't understand what people were telling me or remember how to do things. And even now I still have to constantly kind of remind myself how to do things. Just because I'm not on it as much. You know, because it's been like what I've been on maybe like 2 or 3 times in the last year.
Well, I think the funniest things that have happened to you is, Stevie has a horse that pretty much says these nuts, and you said you were following these nuts, which was
Yeah.
that's a Lori thing on the game. She will follow something, and Blurts it out.
Yeah, I do. I absolutely do.
But I mean that's I mean the Red Dead thing I can understand because with Aunt Brandy being into horses, you guys doing rodeos, you guys being into horses, it fits the family right there playing Red Dead. And I know sometimes I mean there's sometimes if I take a break for a couple of weeks, even I forget sometimes what the controller is.
And it's
It's a little
horrible. Like I've
horrible,
learned
yeah.
some things, like now that I don't have that gaming system because when I moved, uh, that was Robert's, so I left it with him. So like all my control settings are different now. So like even the fishing pole, like how you have to spin the little thing, I had it to where you could just hit the buttons, and now I can't figure out how to do that again. So now I'm just sitting there like spinning the little. I'm like, oh no. So I'm still
So
got to read that, kind of configure all that.
we're gonna have to help you because there's something in the settings on the game that you can change it back to the buttons instead of the
Yeah,
real. Now
yeah, it's
now when you play now another funny thing that happened. It's on one of my videos on here is when we throw the bolo at you, and for some reason your character could not get free from those ropes, and
no.
me and Meska were doing the whole power of Christ compels you thing to you, and
I
I was
know
like,
that was hilarious.
but it was weird because we're like, can she not get free? And we're like, and you're like, I'm pressing buttons, I'm trying.
I had no clue. I was just at this point, I was slamming on the controller. I couldn't figure it out. And then I think one of my other favorite times on Red Dead was when we were all running around, like hitting each other with machetes and stuff.
Well, we also stole that buggy in Saint Denis, and we couldn't stand up on the back, and everybody kept falling. We couldn't
Falling,
move.
yeah. I think sometimes when me and Lacey play, I mean, like I probably played like last month with her. We stole another buggy because sometimes we just do that and just go driving around. Sometimes we don't even meet our daily challenges or anything. We just totally BS and try to stay away from griefers.
Well, I will tell you, the griefers have gotten worse on there now.
Yes,
Um, they've come
big
back out
time.
in full throttle. Did you ever play with Yee brother?
Yes,
Well, he's
I think
back
maybe
on
like
there.
once. I think maybe once.
Well, yeah, he's back on there, and I know your sister pretty much wants to put a bullet in his head.
Oh my gosh. She gets to play way more than I do. I've been just way too busy. I think once we get back in our house, into our own little environment or whatever, and get everything hooked up, then I'll be able to play more. Um, and I do look forward to that. But by then, who knows if I'll remember the controllers. But now I actually have story mode too, and I still have yet to do that. I started it because where we live, like the internet sometimes can be really shoddy. So sometimes it won't hold enough connection or whatever it needs, bandwidth or whatever you call it, to actually connect to the online part. So sometimes I will just go on there and piddle around on story mode a little bit. Um, but even then, so it's so not the same as playing with other people.
The story mode is always kind of a different thing because everybody's like, "Hey, you should go try story mode," and I'm like, "Well, that's the problem with story mode. Even though it's the same, it's different. There's different. To me, I feel like the shooting and everything is different. That's just me, but I mean, I don't know how everybody else.
It is like the first couple of missions when you started it, it seemed very different for me too, and it was weird, which I think is kind of part of why I can't get into it. But at the same time, I feel like I need to do it because anytime I would play with all of y'all knew what the heck y'all were talking about and bringing up stuff that I had no idea what y'all were talking about, where we were going, this and that. And they're like, oh, if you played story mode, you'd learn the map. I'm like, no, I still won't learn the map, but it's okay. Like, because I know my brain. But there was just things that like even Lacey and Brandy would be chit chatting about, and I had no idea what they're talking about. I'm just like, yeah, sure.
Well, your Aunt Brandy tends to know where everything's at on the map. I played story mode like 2 or 3 different times. I don't know where everything is on the map. I don't pay attention.
I'm just like, where is that again? And like, usually people have gotten so in the habit of my ditziness, is what I like to call it. That people are just like, I marked the waypoint, Lori. I marked the waypoint. They're like, get out of your posse and get into mine, and I'll mark it because you can't see, we can't see, whatever. And I'm just like, okay. So I still just kind of follow people when we play in groups. Everyone's like, oh, what do you want to do? I'm like, I don't know. What do you guys want to do? It's like so ridiculous.
Yeah, and is there any other games that you played on there, or just the Red Dead?
Um, I'm horrible at Call of Duty. I don't even attempt to play it. I do watch my boyfriend play it more now that my son's played it over the years and he's played it. I've kind of got to where I understand it more and kind of what things mean. But as soon as I hit that ground, I'm shot. Like it don't even matter. Like it don't. So I get so easily, like, I guess, frustrated, even more so than being just griefed over and over in Red Dead, because it seems just so instantaneous
Well,
that I can't.
you can always play GTA 5 because me and Stevie does, and we got our own private lobby and don't have to
I
worry
don't
about.
I don't have GTA. Since we lost everything, we're kind of slowly rebuilding some of the games and stuff that we had. Um, so eventually I'm gonna get that. I think Lacey got it, but I don't even think she plays that much.
Well, you know what's funny is that your sister, when she had the character, actually kind of dressed more like a hooch. She was kind of like a ghetto girl. So I mean, that's what Stevie said. I'm paraphrasing what Stevie
No,
said.
I know. Stevie definitely believed she was on a mission for something.
But yeah, I mean, how long have you been doing dog grooming? Like exactly?
25 years?
Have you always been a lover of animals? Is that what got you into doing dog grooming?
Yes. It well, my aunt got me into dog grooming, but no, yes, I have always loved animals. My main goal in life was to be a veterinarian. Um, and once I started, like, I guess it was around high school, maybe middle school-ish even. I was probably like 15, maybe 16 when I started. Um, and Brandy really needed help at the grooming shop, and I always loved to like see her at work and like pet the dogs and whatever, you know. And she was like, well, it'd be good money. And it was around Christmas. So, of course, it started out as like, hey, you want to make some money for the holidays? Like, and I was at that age, I wanted money to do things with my friends. I was like, sure. And I started out bathing some of her dogs and getting
Right.
paid. And I wasn't exactly a groomer just yet, but I saw like the money I was making and I was able to like buy things and spend money and collect TY Beanie Babies. And I don't even know what else I did back then, but all the things. And so she said, you know, if you want to learn how to groom, I can teach you. So I was like, absolutely, because I knew that was even more money. So I just know there wasn't that many 15, 16, 17-year-olds running around with $800-900 paychecks. Of course, back then it was probably more like $600-700, $500 paychecks a week. But that was still a lot of money then, you know.
And, you
So
know, if you think about the way the economy is now, back then you could be like, ooh, I could save a few of this and not have to
mhm,
worry about a lot of money. Because now it's like you
yeah,
said, it's like $200 to drive back and forth.
from where I
Just
live, it is. So, because I just have not found a job out here. I mean, there are grooming shops here, but it's not even just about that. It's about I have clientele. I've built up a clientele base, just kind of like a hairstylist is the best way to explain it. It's very similar. And so I have a lot of because I'm also a CVTA, so I'm a certified veterinary technician as well. I went to college for that after I had my kids. Um, and got my certification for that. And the only reason I didn't stay in a veterinarian clinic was because at the time, techs or tech assistants, you made like $8 an hour. And here I am, you know, in my 20s trying to work on $8 an hour with two kids, and it just wasn't feasible. So I went back into grooming because it was just more money. It was more money every week and instant gratification like that. So I went back to grooming, but it's hard for me to leave my clients because of my medical background, and with a lot of like Petco's, PetSmarts, corporate places. and even some private shops, just depending on where you go or where you live, your area, state rules, regulations, that kind of stuff. They're so strict on their policies that, like at a
Right.
Petco, PetSmart, things like that, they're not going to take a dog over a certain age. If your dog has congestive heart failure or an autoimmune disease, things like that, they're not going to want to groom the dog. If it has an open sore even on it, they're not going to want to groom the dog because it's a risk of being sued. It's a risk of liability. And if your dog stresses out and something happens, then we can be sued. And it's all about that. It's not that it's not about the well-being of the pet, but there's just not enough in that environment to really give the proper one-on-one care for that pet. I mean, I would say we're kind of first responders in the medical field as dog groomers, because when you bring your dogs in, we're going to notice if it has an ear infection, if it's got a toenail that's messed up, if there's sores, if it's got mouth issues, anything to do with its glands, things like that. So we kind of see moles and things like that before pet parents will notice them and take them to a vet. So for me, it's about my clients. I have a lot of senior dogs. I have dogs that are extremely aggressive and cannot be groomed at other places because of that. And they will bring them in sedated and I will groom them. And I work with a lot of medical condition dogs at my shop. So it's right now I'm in a position where it's very difficult for me to want to walk away from those particular clientele. When I know there's not very many people in the area that I work in that would be willing to, I guess, put up with those dogs or take that more one-on-one time with those clients.
Well, I know that I know you guys groom dogs, but I know, have you ever groomed a cat?
I have my cat only. I can groom cats. A lot of shops won't do them because they're extremely high risk. If you get bit by a cat or scratched by a cat, you have like a 75 to 80% chance of actually catching an infection versus a dog bite. And then that can also lead to surgery, especially a cat bite or a cat scratch fever is a real thing. And it can be very painful. And then you're out all that time at work and recovering plus antibiotics, and it has to be a high dose antibiotics. So it's very high risk to groom cats. Even though we do make sure that they have their rabies vaccination, just like we do the dogs, it's still very high risk compared to a dog bite.
So you're trying to say
I choose not to.
So you're trying to say in some ways cats are evil.
All cats are evil, and I love them though. And we do a lot of cats at my shop. I just don't particularly do them. That we have another groomer there that is willing to just go balls to the walls with it and do them, no matter how crazy they get. I have shaved my cat. I can do it. I do nails on cats. I will do that. But it's usually like if the other groomer can't be there and it's like an easy cat bath or something, and I know they have actually been at a grooming shop before, then I will go ahead and be like, oh, okay, maybe I'll go ahead and do that one.
Have you done any other animals? Have you seen any other animals come in that are not dog and cat that you've had?
Well, at our shop, we don't particularly do other animals. We have had, because we have a sister location here, and they have a different name, but they board animals. So sometimes they'll board like rabbits or ferrets, stuff like that. And I can do, because of my vet experience, I don't do bird beaks anymore or wings, but I used to be able to do them because I've just not been in it for so long that I'm not comfortable anymore doing those. But I used to do like bird wings, clipping beaks and nails, ferret nails. I've done skunk nails. I have shaved rabbits before. Because there are some breeds of rabbits that get like the lion manes. They're like really big and fuzzy and look like a stuffed animal. They can actually get matted really easily. So I have shaved like rabbits. I have shaved a sheep before, which was not with my clippers. I actually used real sheep shears on that, but I had no clue what I was doing, but it was very similar. That was my dad. So
you and Mel almost got in the same career. She went to school to be a veterinarian, and then she tried to do the vet tech thing, and then she worked with a veterinarian, and then she stopped because she has a hard time watching dogs be put down. Like animals be put down.
I will say there are some things that I was very shocked that bothered me compared to other things. because in all the years that I have been grooming, I've groomed dogs that have been mistreated poorly, like health wise, not like the old skinny dogs or whatever with tumors, things like that. But I'm talking like dogs that have been rescued that have been matted for like a year and a half, that they have sores on their skin and they have maggots from their skin, like literally like shedding and dying off. And I have seen that in the grooming industry, in clinics and at vet, like in shops and at vet clinics. Um, but yeah, like honestly, I was fine with most surgeries, broken bones, and for the most part, the euthanasia, because it's very much like a doctor setting, like in a regular office. You know how like these ER nurses and stuff, they're so prone to seeing it that they genuinely, I feel like, and that's with a lot of industries, but they're just, it's so normalized for them. So to have that empathy, like you have it, you're just not as emotional about it for them. And I think it goes the same way with like funeral home industry, things like that, that you do get kind of numb to certain things. And I had the hardest time with tail docking and dew claw removal because they do it at like 2 or 3 days old. They don't sedate them or do anything when they do it. They take hemostats and just rip the dew claws out, and they take little scissors and just go, and that's it. And they squeak for a second and it's over. I mean, but it just, I passed out. Like the second time I had to do it, I passed out, which was so bizarre for me, but I think it just hurt my heart so much. And then I was doing an externship over at a large animal clinic, which large animal being like cows, horses, goats, pigs, dog, cat, you know, they do both or whatever. And there was this Great Pyrenees that we were boarding over 4th of July weekend because a lot of people's pets are scared of fireworks. This
Yeah,
woman
absolutely.
knew that. They have to have a rabies vaccine to be boarded, obviously, and Bordetella. And she boarded her dog. So I was on the like go up there and let the dogs out in the, you know, runs and all that for the holiday and put them back up, make sure we had food, water. You know, I was doing kennel help that weekend for the holiday. And this Pyrenees was so sweet. He just loved me. And we got along so well that I was like, instant best friend. I'll see you, you know, when I get back or whatever from the holiday. And I came back from 4th of July, and it was probably like, I don't know, she picked him up that following Monday. And then I came back like on a Tuesday or Wednesday. So it had been a couple of days even after she picked him up. And when I came in, it was, I don't know, probably in the evening time. Because I believe I remember doing my externship before I started working at PetSmart in Oklahoma. So I was waiting for my husband to get home, I think at the time, Carol's dad. And then I went to do my externship. And I immediately walked in and didn't even have time to really set my stuff down. And the vet was like, hey, there's an emergency call on a horse. I need you to finish this rabies test for me. And when I turned the corner, he was like hollering at me when he was talking to me. So I turned the corner. He was standing up on the tables, like you see at the vet clinics, have the little grates where they would do like dentals and stuff. And that dog was laying up there, and he had big hedge trimmers, and it literally looked just like hedge trimmers. And he was cutting through the spine of the dog's neck. Because for rabies testing, you have to cut the head off and send it in. Which if you're euthanizing the dog and it has rabies, I mean, yeah, you need to know if it has rabies, but it's not going to spread if it's dead and it's at your clinic and it's going in a freezer. And, you know, I don't know what protocol there was for that. So I immediately recognized the dog and was heartbroken. And I said, what happened? Why is this dog back in here getting, you know, why was it euthanized? And why are we cutting its head off for rabies? It had a rabies shot. We gave it to it. It was boarded. He said, the mom took it home, got drunk with her friend like 2 days later, and the dog attacked her friend, like mauled her friend to the point of putting it in the hospital.
Wow.
And I was like, I was sad for the person because obviously I prayed they were okay. But if you boarded your dog and paid all that money for that, then take it home and do the same dang thing you boarded it for, that made me so angry. And I think it was in that moment, besides actually having to finish the job and the body going this way and the head going this way and me falling backwards off because it was so hard to do. And I was a lot smaller than I am now. It broke me. I think it really broke me because I just was like, I can't do this. Like I can, but I don't want to. You know what I mean? Like when you're so angry for the lack of common sense with certain things, like I get it if she just got the dog and didn't like know any history on the dog and then that happened, then I would understand that. But this is a dog she's had since it was a puppy. So that was probably my biggest heartbreak in the veterinarian field that made me kind of be like, okay, I'm not getting paid enough to do these kinds of things. Just like at hospitals and stuff, the nurses do more than the doctors do, but they go to school longer, so they make the big bucks. It's the same thing. So
Well,
that
since you're a
that
big
was my
animal
out
lover,
right there.
since you're a big animal lover, I was going to ask you this question because we were discussing this at work last week. Because do you think that there should be a death charge, or do you think there should be people should be charged for murder when they kill an animal, when an animal is mistreated? Do you think they should get the same treatment as a person would killing another person?
There there's a lot of fine lines with that topic, and it's very hard for me to know which area I agree on and
Hmm.
disagree on. I feel like people just do not, and then there are some people that absolutely do not. They will kill a person over their animals, and I love those. Those are my kind of people. But there are people too that view them as animals. They're not equal to us. They don't have souls. They don't have spirits. They don't have thoughts. They don't have feelings. You know what I mean? Like they're just there, kind of, if that makes sense. And
Yeah,
I think those people have a harder time understanding what they're putting those animals through. I am the type of person, though, because I've been in the industry for so long and experienced so many different things and watched so many things with personal animals, friends' animals, clinics, all that, that I'm a cruelty-free person. So I think if you were to straight up abuse a dog physically, beat it to death, tie it from a rope, drag it by a car, those kinds of things, I think they're punishable by a death sentence. Um, because you killed that animal in such a horrific way.
right.
Now, if you have a dog that is matted, that you're 80 years old, can't afford, because let's be real, everything's expensive. Even hair, people complain about the price of grooming. And it's all like, okay, but it's not us. You know what I mean? It's a whole different vibe. You're paying for so much more than that, and they don't realize it. But for people like that who have dogs who just can't afford it, maybe they know, maybe they've been cited, maybe someone's called them in, they still haven't fixed the problem, and they surrender the animals, and um, the animal is just so malnutrition and not, taken care of, but they surrender the animal out of like, I, I, I just couldn't do it. I didn't know what to do, and I couldn't find him a home, so I just kept him. And I'm a little more empathetic to those types of people.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
it still hurts. It still frustrates me. Um,
Mhm.
but at the same time, like it's not a lack of love, if that makes sense. It's not a
Absolutely.
lack of it's not a okay, well you're just a thing. No, you're my pet. I can't take care of you, but I'm trying and I don't want you to go anywhere and I love you so much and how can I do this but I can't afford this. And I think those kinds of people should be reprimanded. And of course now it's jail time. It's jail time for any animal cruelty type thing, and you can get up to 10 years, at least here in Dallas County. And I only know this because I had a situation with an ex that killed one of our kittens right in front of me. And he was not right. And he wasn't a bad person. We had switched his medication he was on, and he was on diabetes medicine, and he had a lot of health issues since he was younger. So basically, when they switched the mood medication, which that kind of stuff is not, you can't quit cold turkey. You can't just like, oh, stop taking this, here's this. And that's what they did to him. And so it made him have an episode, a manic episode. And I couldn't handle it. And he killed the kitten out of anger at me. In the moment, he didn't know what he was doing, but he did. And so when he did it and he ran out the door, I told him when he came back in the house, I said, I'm going to call the police. I am absolutely going to call the police. I said, this is not who you are, and I understand that. I said, but you just killed an animal in front of me, so I'm having you arrested for animal cruelty charges. And I did. And then I did go to court on that. And at the time, the DA in Dallas, they had just switched to a new DA. So they wanted to like nail this guy. They wanted to make an example out of him for the new, so it looked better on the new DA. The judge was like, please go in there and tell the truth about what happened. Don't be scared. It's like, I'm not scared of him. I've known him since high school. Like I could go like this and he would fall over. I'm not scared. Like, but something should be done about this. He needs to know this is unacceptable behavior, whether he was in your right mind or not. I actually ended up getting him out of jail, like when we went to court, because I knew the medication was there. I knew the doctors had been proven that it was malpractice on their part for the way they handled things. I grew up with this guy. His family's had animals his whole life, so I knew this was not him. He rescued this animal actually from a drug house. So deep down inside, I knew that wasn't him. Um, he did get probation. He did spend 6 months in jail. He did have a hearing. He had fines. He had things he had to do. He is no longer allowed to own an animal. Um, but he's not getting the death sentence. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's why it's very hard for me to see to feel like if I feel like, yes, I would 100% agree. Like, okay, if you kill animals, you get the death sentence versus, because I think there's
Right.
just such a vast variation of situations and practices with animal, cultural things with animals as well, depending on where you live, states, cities, countries, that it's hard. Because in other places, they're looking at these animals like they're livestock. And so it's hard to have that mindset, you know what I mean? To be so judgmental. But I definitely feel like if you're out here abusing animals, beating them, shooting them, dragging them behind cars, things like that, absolutely do the same thing to them. Why not?
Well, I know that your family is into this because your aunt has told me this. You've had some paranormal experiences with the from ghosts, right?
Uh, yes, I'm very spiritual. I am Christian. I believe there's a God, but I'm very spiritual as well. And there has, I mean, there's always some kind of normal. I call it normal because I think deja vu is normal. And I feel like everybody does that. They may not understand it, but I feel like that's still like a factor of it. You know what I'm saying? Of like our spiritual gifts. Um, but I can see and talk to people. I don't practice it. I don't practice meditation to where I'm able to fully do all that because I'm just not well versed enough to protect myself in those kinds of situations. It's not something I grew up practicing. When it would happen, it would just happen and I'm like, okay, whatever. I've lived in houses that have been haunted. I have dealt with shadow people in Oklahoma. Um, I have been practicing with my animals because I actually used to hear animals. And I thought that would be really great if I could really dive into that, especially being in the animal industry. Because if I could hone in on my psychic abilities with pets, then I could help them that much more in my shop. You know what I mean? Like if they're scared for some reason for something, what are you scared of? They can't tell us. So like, I felt like that would just be like the coolest thing ever to be like pet psychic groomer / vet tech. But
Hey,
those courses are like $1,700 that I don't have. So
a
I do
reality show.
practice some stuff, but yeah,
Yeah.
no, there's absolutely, and of course where I live now is by Camp Maxie, um, which is also part of the war where it's like they had Germans here and stuff. So there's like a huge history here. And I literally, the property I live on is across from Camp Maxie. So there's actually cemeteries and stuff over there from the war and things.
Well, I tell people all the time, man, that you don't necessarily have to see a spirit, but you can feel it. I'm spiritual as well.
Yes.
I'm an empath. I feel things when I go to a
Hmm.
place. If I go to where like a Civil War thing happened, I can feel where a soldier got shot at or stabbed at, and it
Yes.
starts happening to me. Um, I mean, I know that a lot of people don't believe in it. Have you ever like told people and they just kind of not believed it, or they just kind of go, "Oh well."
Yeah, I've had a lay little bee, because I definitely do, they say your family gives you signs and visits and stuff like that. I have had those types of experiences to where people didn't believe me, and I've seen things. I don't know. It's just there's so many. Come on, buddy. Sorry, one of the dogs actually wanted out of the room. We have 5 dogs here. Um, so I don't know. Like I had this one time that really freaked me out. Because in Waxahachie, Texas, which most people, if you look it up, know it's pretty haunted, and they have a restaurant there called Catfish Plantation, and it has a rich history of like deaths in there and stuff, and so it's very haunted. And you can go and eat there and sign a book, and while you're eating, if you experience anything, you can write it down or whatever. I try to avoid those kinds of things, but when I first moved home, I thought it'd be really cool to go there. So me and this guy I was talking to went there. It was like on a Monday, and I didn't know they were closed on Monday, so we drove all the way out there, and they were closed. So he was like, "Well, we're already here. Let's just walk up and look in the windows. Let's just look in the windows, see if we get any vibes, see if we whatever." I didn't even make it out of the car, and I could see the woman who killed herself in the bathroom in the white dress in the window, like moving the curtain and talking to me. I could hear her. There was two other gentlemen there, and I described them. Of course, he was freaking out because he couldn't. He saw the curtain move, but he wasn't seeing and hearing what I was seeing. And he said I instantly turned white, and I was in the driver's side of my car because I drove it there. And he was like, "We need to go. This is creeping me out. Like, I'm getting a horrible vibe. Like, we just need to go." And I said, "I can't move. They're not letting me leave." And he was like, "What do you mean they're not letting me leave? You're not even in the house. Like, let's just go." I was like, "No, they knew I was coming and they were waiting for me." And he was like, "For what?" I said, "To talk to me, I guess, to help them for whatever the reason." And he was like, "We got to go. We got to go." And he like took his foot over and like smashed my foot on the gas pedal. And like my car was in park, so the tires were doing this. So I finally just said, "Stop, we'll go." And then it like kind of, I guess, pulled me out of the trance or the connection that I had with them. So I was able to leave and we left. But it terrified me so bad that I never went back there to try to eat or do anything because it was a lot. And I described them, I drew them. I'm not a great drawer, but I drew what I saw. And then I handed him the paper and he looked it up and it was them. So he knew I wasn't making stuff up. And I had never looked it up before that. I just had heard of it. So it was interesting, to say the least. I think that that's probably my biggest thing. That and the shadow people in Oklahoma. They would actually put scratches on me and my daughter and stuff. And so we ended up having to, which my husband at the time and his dad didn't believe in that kind of stuff. They believe in old Indian stuff, but they didn't believe in that kind of thing. So I ended up actually getting like a protection spell. Now it sounds witchy, but, and just kind of like saging the house and cleansing out certain energies and stuff. And like, if I felt negative energy on an item in the house that maybe my husband brought home or whatever, I'd just sage it. And I spent probably a week doing this. And we were on 5 acres, so I would like go out by the pond and like do stuff. And then I bought stakes and put it 4 corners of the property. And there was like a whole thing that I did. It was just for protection because my daughter was physically being scratched. And she shared a room with me at the time. And so I was terrified to go to sleep at night because I wasn't scared of me necessarily getting hurt, but my daughter, because she was like 7. So, and I didn't, how are you going to go to school and explain that? Like, how are you going to go to school and they're not going to think it's like you abusing your child? Like, oh, it's a shadow person doing that. They're going to think I'm batshit crazy and send me, take my child, So I did things like that to get rid of it. And eventually I did get them out away from the property, but
it's not,
it stopped.
I wouldn't consider it very witchy. I mean, I've had to help some friends out by cleansing their house, and maybe sometimes you have to do it maybe more than once just to
It
get
just
it out
depends
of
on
there.
what it is and how it got there. Yeah. And so I definitely believe in the paranormal. I do love watching ghost adventures and different ones, but I can't watch them at night anymore because then I start having nightmares, and not even so much nightmares, just like my daughter can astroplane. And we learned about this when we were losing Judy, because my great grandmother came and talked to her, and she would go visit her, and she would walk through the house and see Bubba sleeping and see me sleeping and all this. But then she'd walk back in her room and see her body laying there. So we learned. I once she could do that and was scared to tell me she could do that because she was scared she was going crazy. I had to sit down and teach her about it and explain to her what it was, and that all of us can do this stuff. All of us, it's just whether or not you want to, whatever. And so she's had experiences as well, with seeing like dead relatives she's never met, and like her grandfather who passed away would come visit her, and she didn't know who it was. She would just sense it and see black figures, and that scared her. But her grandpa was a jokester and he liked to mess with her. And so I had to kindly ask him to stop because it was doing more harm than it was helping. So yeah, I just don't watch that kind of stuff at night so much anymore. Sometimes I will, like around Halloween, I can handle it, but like on a regular basis, I just can't because it triggers me. And then when I'm falling asleep, then I go there and then I hear and people are talking to me and all the things. And I can't do all that mess when I'm trying to sleep.
Well, I went to go, like I said, I went to go cleanse a friend. Me and Mel went to go cleanse a friend's house, and it's all the way out in the country. And As soon as I walked in there, her boyfriend, her husband now, but her boyfriend then, um, me and him walked in the door, and I had one of those spirit boxes, and it pretty much said, "Hello, Kevin. Hello, James." It's like it was expecting me to be there.
Right.
It was like, whoa, okay, so this is an intelligent little booger. All right, and it's I tell people it's not necessarily what you see because some people have that seeing is believing. I tell people all the time it could be a scent of a person.
Hmm.
It could be a noise, a song could play, something randomly can just appear like a music. When my grandmother passed away, up upstairs in the attic there was a music box that never been opened, sitting up there. How it got there, we don't know. But I mean, there's just a lot of different things like that, and people are just. And I have a hard time watching Ghost Adventures at night too because it drains me so much before I go to bed, and I'm just like,
It does. It
I'm
does.
like,
It really does. And I know some of that is like some parts are probably staged. It is a TV show, but
yeah,
there's a lot
yeah,
of things that happen on there that are real, and people are constantly screaming it's fake. But like even I, like when I watch certain things, I can get feelings and stuff still from it, or like the feeling of like something stuck here in my throat. Um, it just depends on me, it depends on my vibe and like how I'm feeling that day, if I can handle it or I can't handle it. But yeah, no. And then um there was, what's that one show they just did? Um Something 24 maybe, where like it's like a person, or they put teams and they're locked up for 24 hours in like haunted places. Oh my
yeah.
gosh. And then I forgot what it's called.
But
But
actually,
Caroline just watched it.
Ghost Adventure has a new. They have that. Well, we all know they have the SOS, which is like you see the stick figures. Well, now they have this new thing now where they can image out the spirit's face, and there was a little boy that appeared on
Oh wow.
the
I
image
haven't
out
seen
thing,
that.
and that
I
one
mean, I
is.
keep what is it called? It's that app that they came out with a couple years ago, Ghosts, whatever.
Mhm.
Um, and you have the ALS, the stick figures on it, and they can talk to you. I have that app. People are like, it's fake, but I've actually had real conversations with people that I knew were there, that were certain people. So I think I mean, they can use TVs and all this stuff to communicate with us. So, like, why wouldn't an app that was invented, even if it was for fun, not be able to still be used? It still has frequencies and stuff. So, um, sometimes I pull that little bad boy out and freak out my boyfriend a little bit with it. Because there's soldiers and stuff here. There's so much. There's like bombs they found in the ground here. There's so much. And the properties that they bought, or that we're on, was part of it, used to be part of it. So it's like there's a history here. What's up, babe? Did you finish Potters? Oh, okay.
Yeah, we just. I just tell people like, hey, if you are going to get into that kind of thing, just be careful because when I was doing the ghost tour job for a long time, people would be like, "Ooh, I want to come out and be this ghost person. I want to do this and this." I'm like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, hold up! You gotta know what you're doing before you get into it, because
Yeah.
if you open up something and you don't close it,
Yeah,
now that now that's here. So
it is.
you have to be very careful with it.
And I don't mess with Ouija boards, which oddly enough, it's funny because I think and then I think Brandy would probably know more about it than I would, but I feel like our great grandmother Dixie had something to do with the spiritual world because I'm 5 years old. I don't even know what a Ouija board is. And she's yelling at me, don't you ever play with one. And she would always say the most random things that came out of nowhere. Um, and you didn't understand why or what it meant. And then, like, as I've gotten older and learned a lot about this kind of stuff, like, I'd be like, oh, my grandma told me not to do that. And it was because she was spiritual. And so there was things that she did and didn't do and I didn't know about. So I definitely feel like there are things like if you got your great grandmother telling you don't be playing with things and don't do certain things and don't do this in front of this mirror and don't do that, like there's your reason. You know what I mean?
I would like to take my equipment, go to Dallas, to go over there where the shot of the Kennedy happened on them. I
Oh
would I
yeah.
would, I would definitely like to take that and go there because Mel's been to Texas. I haven't been to Texas yet. So
Sad
for
day for
me,
you. But
I
I've
really
been
want
there
to go.
too, so it's okay.
I really want to go because I'm a history nut. I like that stuff. And she's like, well, I got to stand right there on the grassy knoll, and I'm like okay, well,
I've been to the museum and seen it because it's part of the school. Like schools go on field trips to it, and you go to the museum and you go into the building and you do. So it's I've seen it and everything. On a spiritual level, I don't know how I would feel about it, but like, would I want to tap into that? Like, I don't know. But if you do come to Texas, you can go there, but definitely like Waxahachie would be, and it's not too far from Dallas. So that would be like a really haunted, good place to go. And they have some history there. I think it's Jacksboro, Texas too. Um, I don't know. There's just so many. Texas is so big. There's just so many like destination haunted places that it would be a lot. But like if you did like a haunted trip, it'd probably take you a month to go to at least the big ones, you know?
well, I also know that you are a pretty darn good singer. People don't know that. Um, like who?
Okay.
I know you and Lacey both love singing, so that was who was your idols growing up? Like, who'd you love listening to, like as far as music goes?
I have such a vast genre of music because I was raised by my grandparents and then my mom and like different people that I don't really have like a preference on one particular I think one particular person that impacted me. I'm a huge Dolly Parton fan, as most people should be. Definitely older country like Hank Williams, Dolly Parton, Loretta Lynn. Like I'm more old school country, so I feel like that kind of comes in, and not even so much the '90s country. I think I was at a time where like Whitney Houston, Mariah Carey, Wilson Phillips, though. You know, Amy Wine. I don't know. There's just so many. It would be hard for me to pick one, but if I had to pick like my top ultimate, like it would probably be Dolly Parton.
Now, with speaking of Loretta Lynn, my uncle and them, they live over there where her mansion was at. And when he's been a sheriff, he was sheriff in that county for a lot of years. He actually arrested Loretta Lynn's son a few times, and she pretty much did not like him at all.
Oh,
Um,
fair enough.
and she hears that name of my uncle, she was just like, no, uh-uh. But hey, he
Oh
was
my
doing his
god.
job, but still,
But still, yeah.
that's uh, now when you were in high school and you went, what were you listening to mostly? Mariah Carey? Were you listening to Whitney Houston, or
I mean,
were you
everything.
listening to the
In high
Spice?
school, I listened to everything. Oh my God, the Spice Girls. I did. I listened to everything, but I also liked classical music and stuff too. So I feel like obviously as a 90s kid, it was pretty average, Backstreet Boys, things like that. Um, but I was still such a country fan that I was definitely like my whole family's obsessed with Garth Brooks. I'm kind of slowed down on that one as I've gotten older. My whole family thinks I'm crazy for it, but after being obsessed with him for so many years, you kind of run out of things to be obsessed with. And we've actually met him, and he's actually really genuine.
He
I
is.
did go through a whole like Leanne Rhymes phase, but she went to school in Garland over where we went to school, and I was friends with her cousin. So
Mhm.
I kind of got to know her, and I can't say a type of person she is now, but like then at 15, she was kind of so she was definitely not the fame definitely took to her head, and she was not a very fun person to be around at that age. Um
I know this is like kind of a we were talking about music, but I know there was some. there's a country singer right now that's got a lot of controversy with Jason Aldean's song. Um, have you listened to the song? Have you seen the video? And
Oh,
do you
I'm
think there's
100% behind Jason Aldean. Yeah, 100% behind Jason Aldean. Like, there's nothing racist in that song. He literally took video clips and stuff that was from media that the world was putting out there for everyone to see anyway. So how can you say that his video is so controversial when the news is spreading it like wildfire anyway? It's not anything anyone hasn't already seen. There is not one racist thing in that. There's nothing. I know the history behind the courthouse and everything because I really dug into this because I was like, oh, this is not cool.
yeah,
And
know the
I didn't
history?
necessarily grow up in a small town, but I live in a semi-small town now. And Lacey lives in a town in Oklahoma. And just growing up there with my kids for so long, like, no. Like, there's nothing un-American about that song at all. There's nothing that doesn't, I mean, I don't know. I 100% back him. And I also back the fact that CMT was kind of getting hammered by Luke Bryant and everybody. You know, they were pulling their stuff off of their canceling contracts and doing certain things to like say, no, this is not okay.
Do you Well, see, I know about the courthouse too, but a lot of people don't know. There's movies that have been filmed there. There's been other music videos filmed
There's
at
so
this
much
courthouse.
stuff. So why is
Yeah.
it a problem now? You know what I mean? The world is just not the way it used to be. You know?
Do you think that when we were you being 40 and us being 41, um, do you think our generation was a lot tougher than these kids nowadays? Because we had to go. We did mudding, we did fishing, we rough
Yeah,
house,
we
we did all.
didn't have the world, you know, giving us everything at the palm of our hands. If we wanted to learn something, we had to go out and experience it or hear it from other people or try it or travel or like these kids literally, if the world was at war right now, could not defend. I mean, tech with high tech stuff, yeah, I'm screwed all day long. But actually going out and surviving something like that to where you would know how to hide or you know how to make a fire with sticks and do all these things. They just don't have it anymore. They don't teach them these things. Instead, they're teaching them how to do electronics in school. And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, well, the electronics are great. You can make billions doing that for a living. But what happens when that crashes? What happens when that's not sustainable for you? Like, can you grow food? Can you do, so I definitely feel like we had the experience of in between. So we got a little bit of the high tech, but at the same time we're like old enough that I think we're harder. We also got our butts beat and we were okay with it. It wasn't child abuse.
It's
My
also
mom even did the little, what is it, trappies, not trappies, maybe called trappies, like the little peppers in the jar. And my mom would make us and then put that shit on our tongue and have to sit there like that instead of putting soap in our mouth. I did that to my son one time and the school found out about it and was like, that's child abuse, you can't do that. I said, he didn't swallow it. It was on the tip of his tongue, and his tongue was like. So if I put it in his food and he eats it and it's spicy, that's not child abuse. But if I stick it on his tongue, so I find it very hard. I think that the kids of the world today are too soft.
I also think they're also entitled. They feel like that stuff is owed to them, and it's all about the past, and they're all wanting to talk about the past, past, past. And I'm just kind of like, I could
They
tell,
didn't.
my family came from a small town. My mom's side of
It
the family
didn't
did.
happen to you directly. Then it didn't happen to you.
Yeah, I mean, my mom was from a small town. They grew up in a small town. Pretty much what Jason Aldean was trying to say in that music video is that if you come and try rioting over there, we take up for each other. And
Right.
you know this as well as I do, the small town cops are not ones to play with. City cops, you can get away with some shit. Small town cops don't take shit.
No, they don't. But at the same time, I think the world has completely stigmatized the police officers because it's just like with any industry. There's corruption in everything. There's always good cop, bad cop. There's always good groomer, bad groomer. There's that causes these reputations. And I think that even if you were in a small town,
Yeah.
that doesn't mean that the cops are harder. I don't know what I'm trying to say. I don't know the words I'm trying to say. That they're not harder up to defend. Like they would be quicker to defend because there's more of a community sense there. There's more respect for them there, I feel like, as to oppose of in the city where it's been so drawn out and you see more. You just see more stuff thanks to media that I feel like it's giving them bad reps. But I think the country, I just feel like there's more respect in smaller towns for community, understanding of each other. Common core values are just going out the window, is what it is, And I think that in smaller towns, you just see a lot more of the common core values of, respecting your elders, manners, right from wrong, common sense things. Like you can be, and I tell my son this all the time because God, I love him to pieces. He is smart as a whip, and I know he's capable of great things. He's just lazy. But there is a difference between being smart and having common sense. You can be smart as you want to and lack common sense, and you're dumber than a box of rocks to me. But if you have common sense and you're maybe not as smart, you're going to survive it a hell of a lot better.
Never thought of it that way. But I know that you guys. Well, I know that you guys went through a really tragic thing. You guys lost y'all's house with that tornado from last year, right?
Yes, it was in November.
Now, people who have not been inside a tornado, like I've been near it, but people always say it sounds like a freight train. And, were you guys close to it, or were y'all guys able to get out there before it hit, or were y'all?
So we knew that the weather was going to be bad. So we left the house to go eat dinner, like an early dinner. And this happened about 4:00. So we left the restaurant. His mom had called us saying the sirens had gone off. Because we live out in the country, we're on a county road. So she had went up to a neighbor's property and went in the storm cellar and called us and was like, "Hey, the sirens are going off. You need to. Where are you? What's going on with you?" And Billy had said we were headed back to the house because the animals were there. And he has a dog that's 11, Bowser. Bowser. He's almost 14 now, so he's old. We had Sugar, my daughter's dog, and the cat there, Dolly. And so we went back to get the animals out because there's not a storm shelter on the property. So we got them in the car and drove up our county road. We pulled out our driveway, went around one curve, went around another one, and then it's a straight shot up to the highway on our county road. And we stopped at Beavers Creek, which is kind of like a neighborhood that you can turn off into right before you hit the highway, and watched it. We watched it go by. It looked further away to me than what it really was, because at the moment I was on the phone with my sister Lacey, and what is that? Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, sorry. Someone was calling me. So I was on the video messenger chat with Lacey. You're trying to talk to her, but my service was shoddy. And so I was trying to video chat her the tornado to see it, and I ended up screenshotting it. And so we watched it go by and knew we were kind of in the clear to go back to the house, even though it was still kind of moving. So we just backed up and turned around, went back down our road, and we got to the second curve, which is where his parents' house is. And we noticed a tree had fallen down in the driveway, and a tree had fallen on his parents' house. So we were like, "Oh crap!" So we made sure that their dog was okay. We let her know what was going on, and then we tried to go around the corner to our house, but there was down power lines. So we were still a little ways from our house, but you couldn't see our house. And so we ended up calling it in so that they could get someone there to clear the road immediately, because we didn't know if people were trapped in their houses. We didn't know what. And the more they got out of the car and ran back to the property, they just ran through the woods, people's property lines, everything. It's just him and Carol. I was in the car with the animals. We did leave the cat at home, but she was in the cabin because we had a log cabin on the property and a mobile home. And we were currently in the process of finishing hooking up everything in the log cabin to move into it. So they run back. It feels like forever. It feels like it's 45 minutes to me, but it hadn't been that long. And Carol comes running back. I finally get Billy to answer the phone. He says everything's gone, like everything. So once they cleared the roads and I was able to drive up there, like the cabin, and it was full cedar. It wasn't like a fake sided one. It was all cedar. It was completely flipped upside down, ripped in half. The mobile home was completely demolished. Like it had flown across the property, almost into the neighbor's property. The boat had flown all the way, pretty much almost all the way across the property, and it was a pontoon boat. I think both of the vehicles, well, there was 3 vehicles on the property. 2 of them aren't drivable; they're just there. They didn't move at all. Um, there was a little bit of damage to his dad's truck at the time, like a tailgate and that kind of like some dents and stuff from some tree brush and stuff. But it tore up pretty much all of our trees, and yeah, everything was pretty much gone. And it had only we missed the tornado, like actually hitting us with us on the property by like 5 minutes.
Wow.
In the car though, we had the radio going and stuff, so like I never noticed, like, you know, they talk about the train noise and stuff. You could hear the sirens, but I never noticed the noise because we were in the car, I think, and the radio was on and Carol was screaming and I was screaming from the back seat and the animals. So I don't know that I actually heard that. I noticed it. The wind was insane, but yeah. I don't think I noticed if that the sirens versus the train noise.
So we're gonna play a little before I can let you go. I'm gonna play a little rapid fire game here with Lori. Let's see what we got. To put her in the hot seat now.
Kind of put me in the hot seat.
We got to put you in the hot seat. We did that. I do this with everybody, so everybody's got to be put in the hot seat once or twice. So,
Okay.
All right. Favorite color?
Purple.
Purple. Favorite season?
Fall, if you can even call it that here.
Same way in Tennessee. You go up. I'm sure you guys deal with the whole like you put like a hoodie on and then all of a sudden like hours later you're taking it off and then you have to put it back on. Yeah, okay, yeah.
I like my fake fall. It's okay. Give me a good 70s, 80 degrees. I'll take it.
Okay. Favorite food?
Mexican or Mexican American, depending on where I'm at and even what.
You go Mexican. Like, what's your favorite Mexican dish?
I don't know. I really like enchiladas. I'm a big enchilada fan, but I do like tamales, like homemade tamales. I think those are like my favorite. And then I also like stuffed avocado, which is probably more Mexican American. But
favorite holiday?
That one's hard for me because I think Halloween and Christmas is tied for me. I feel like I'm more festive at Christmas, but I really love some good Halloween decor. So I feel like those are my 2 toss-ups.
Let's see here. If there's 2 people, a man and a woman, that you could straight throat punch or punch in the face in any celebrity world, news, whatever, who would you want to hit in the face?
Oh my gosh, that one's a hard question. Kim Kardashian, because I think she's just super fake and annoying as hell.
Yeah, what about the guys? Or is there a person you
if I had to punch a dude in the face, oh my gosh, that one's hard. I think I would just punch Channing Tatum in the face just for principle that I punched him because everyone loves him so much and it just makes me sick. And I love him so much that I would probably just punch him in the face just to say I did it.
I'm surprised you didn't mention our esteemed president.
I don't like him enough to punch him in the face. I would just, I would do other things, but I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
He's not deserving of a punch in the face. That's how I feel about it. Okay, he's not even worthy of that.
Favorite Dallas Cowboy growing up?
Emmitt Smith.
That's a good one. What team did you hate the most back then?
Back then and still do, Pittsburgh Steelers.
So Why the Steelers?
I just hate them. I don't know if it was like the color combos or outfits, the cockiness of them, ex-boyfriends. I've just never liked them. I have no idea what the initial trigger was, but I don't like them.
Favorite drink and favorite alcohol drink.
Um, my favorite drink is sweet tea. My favorite alcoholic drink, that's a toss-up because this birthday weekend I drank a lot of different things and I mixed them all up and did not care. But I'm definitely a whiskey girl, so I'm gonna say well whiskey and Coke because I'm cheap. So I don't really care the brand. But when I go out, it's well whiskey and Coke. That's what I say.
Mel's and Evan Williams, Coke girl.
Yeah, I'm not gonna pay $12 for a Jack and Coke. Just give me the $5 one. It'll do the same.
They usually do taste the same to me. Honestly, I was a Jack guy back then, but I feel like they all taste the same.
I do love me some Crown. I've been really big into Crown, especially the peach one, because then I can pour it in my sweet tea and have peach sweet tea.
Now, did you let's see, I got a guy in the comment section saying San Francisco and was one of the people he hated. Pittsburgh stole 2 Super Bowls from you guys.
Well, that too. But I
Yeah.
don't know if I was like old enough or young enough or whatever to remember that particular thing. I just don't like them. And that could be why. It could have started from there and I just regressed that memory because I'm like, no, thank you. But I don't like them.
Celebrity crush as a kid, celebrity crush now.
Celebrity crush as a kid, I think everybody was obsessed with, well, at least I was obsessed with, oh, what is his name? Now I have his head in my head, his picture of his head in my head. Simba from The Lion King.
Oh, Jonathan Taylor Thomas.
Yeah, Jonathan Taylor Thomas was like everybody's dream. That was my like kid, I think, my celebrity crush then. Now my celebrity crush is oh my gosh, Andy Samberg, believe it or not.
Andy Samberg, wow.
Mm-hmm.
I was expecting Ryan Reynolds or someone like that. But
no, I think there's just something so awesome about his comedy styles and like all the things he's done, and then of course his his songs and collaborations and all that. It's like, I mean, I would almost second dare that Will Ferrell would be my like next in line to him.
What is let's see, this is a good question. Would you rather be cold or would you rather be hot?
Cold. I can layer up all day long, but hot, you run out of things to take off.
We don't need enough. Well, we don't need a lot of naked Americans running around. We don't.
I mean, if we want to naked and afraid, just make it 100 degrees outside in Texas and let them go, and they'll die.
Favorite horror film?
Honestly, and I don't even know if it's considered horror, but I love Bride of Chucky. I think that's like probably my favorite one.
What was your favorite what was your best costume you ever did for Halloween, and what is something you've been wanting to dress as and never has?
Oh gosh. I think my favorite costume that I ever had that I could really remember being like, yeah, I did that thing, was honestly probably Jasmine from Aladdin. And then I think if I could be something that I have never been before or that I wish I could be confident enough to do is like I would totally be like oh wow. I don't know. That one's hard. I think if I could have a Halloween costume that would be like epic and everything, I think I would want it to be like I probably would go with like Clueless, something from Clueless maybe. Just like bring back some little 90s outfits. I mean, they're already doing that now at Party City.
Oh, so you would be Cher?
Yeah, I'd probably be Cher. Ooh, or maybe Cher the singer. That would be pretty epic too. I do love me some Cher. I don't know. That one's hard for me.
What was your favorite TV show growing up, and what's your favorite show now? If you get the chance
Um,
to watch.
m- yeah, my favorite show growing up, um, probably was Golden Girls. I know that's a little old school, but I was like a huge Golden Girls fan. Besides Friends, because I was really into Friends. Um, but I don't know because I watched so many old things. So now when I do get to watch TV, my favorite TV show right now, well, I don't really know if it's a series or whatever. I don't know if it is. Well, I can't remember the name of it. I think it's called Alaska Wild or something like that. It's where they take the two brothers that are hunters and they stick them out in Alaska for a month and they have to
Yeah.
travel on foot and do. It's not Naked and Afraid, but they use their hunting skills and like survival skills to make it to these checkpoints to get stuff. And I have to remember the name of it, but it's Alaska something. Oh, it's Alaska Dropped.
I like the show where they have to go out there and they look like they're trying to explore and trying to find Bigfoot and all these other things.
Fun fact, my dad was actually on Finding Bigfoot on Animal Planet.
Was he? I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
it's the episode called Lone Star Squatch, and his name's
Okay.
Wiley Cody and Beverly in them, and that's when they were in Mineola, and they actually stayed. What is the bigger guy's name? Jim Bob or
Mm-hmm.
Jimbo? Maybe.
Jim.
I think he's the
Yeah.
one who stayed on my dad's property for the night and investigated there. And so they were very. My dad's very old country. Like I'm talking pig heads on a fence, old country. And super twangy when he talks. You can actually find the episode still on YouTube somewhere, I think. But yeah, my dad's on there, and I didn't know whether or not to be embarrassed or excited because it's like it's not the redneck talking about the tornado on the TV. My dad's on Finding Bigfoot, so
Hey, he made it. He made it on Animal Planet. I mean, that's
yeah,
can't deny it.
yeah. So yeah, he believes in it. He won't even let us go up on the hill by ourselves anymore because he swears one like grabbed Beverly in his tent when they were up there hunting for the night.
What was the weirdest? What's the weirdest pickup line you've ever gotten from a guy?
I don't even know. I think I would rather have like a cheesy pickup line than like a blunt direct pickup line. And I think the worst one that I've ever gotten was like, um, if I buy you a drink, will you come home with me? Like they just straight up asked me that. And I was like, that is a horrible way to like try to pick up a girl. Like, I mean, maybe you're trying not to waste time, save your energy for like someone else you might be able to convince. So you're just like rapid firing. But I think that was the most insulting because of that. And just, I couldn't do it. I was like, no.
Mel loves my cheesy ones towards her because they're funny and
Yeah, I think if you make me laugh about it, it's going to not be as awkward. But if you just come out and be like, hey, I don't got time for this. Like, if I buy you a drink, you coming home with me? And I'm like, no, thank you.
So, what was the difference with high school Lori compared to adult Lori?
God, there's not much difference. And I don't think there's much difference. I think that I'm a little more grounded. You know, I'm obviously more responsible. But no, personality wise and things like that, it's not any different. You taking a shower, babe?
Here's a funny one. Has anyone that you've ever dated or Lacey's ever dated got you two confused with each other?
Not confused, but they definitely have dated one to try to get with the other one.
Mm.
I have had one talk to like I said, people will meet one and then run into me or her and think that that's who they are. I've had that happen and then start talking to guys, but like
Something tells me you mess with them, and Lacey's probably like, get the f out of here, get out of here.
no, not really. Um I mean, like, I would ask questions, like, if they're talking to me, I'll be like, "Oh, yeah? When did we talk about that?" or something, because like, I would be seriously trying to stand there and figure out how I knew them. Um, I think Billy, the guy I'm with now, was probably a prime example of that, actually. He used to work for Judy, our mom, and he knew my sister and was kinda, like, trying to holler at her, but, like, Lacey was kinda like, "Eh, whatever," you know? I was up there working one day, and he came in, and he was like, "You're not gonna come from behind the counter and give me a hug and say hi?" And I call him Uncle Steve, but Steve was there working too, and he laughed, and he was all like, "Yeah, you're not gonna go from behind the cat," because he knew what was going on. I had no idea. I'm looking at this dude like he's batshit crazy, and anyway, and I'm like, "Do you think I need to come from behind the counter and give you a hug and say hi?" Like, that was my response, and he was like, "Well, yeah." And so I looked at my Uncle Steve, and he was like, "Go ahead, go give him a hug and say hi," and I did. And, he was like, "Why didn't you call me back the other day?" I said, "Oh, maybe that's because I don't have your number." And he was like, "Oh, I gave it to you." And then here came Lacey from the back of the stockroom, and she's like, "What are you doing here?" And I was like, "Oh, by the way, my name's Lori." And then we
That's good.
started talking, and then we dated for 2 years in high school, and then we went our ways, and now here I am again. So,
Hmm. Do you I'm trying to figure out a good one. What was your dream car?
it's still a Corvette, a Stingray. I still want a 69 Stingray, 68, somewhere in there. I'll never own it, but yeah.
American muscle. All right. Now, um, this is going to be. I'm trying to get this going without trying to mix it in here. Um, would you would you rather box someone or would you rather wrestle them?
Probably wrestle because I'm not a fighter. Lacey would be quick to like knock somebody out, and I'd be quicker to pin somebody on the ground.
No, you would wait to her knock someone out and then you'd go pin them and then be like, "I won."
No, we actually tried to play fight drunk with boxing gloves on a trampoline one time, and Lacey was kicking my ass.
I've heard from Brandy that Lacey's pretty got a right hand that's
Yeah, she
pretty.
gets the temper from Brandy and my dad and them. Yeah, she does.
What is the worst thing and good thing about playing Red Dead with all of us crazy folks?
I think the worst thing is when everybody kind of gets in their own bubble and wants to do their own thing, but nobody is like really getting anything accomplished because everyone's running around trying to figure out like who's doing what with who. But my favorite thing is definitely playing with everyone. Having that socialization, I think, is a good stress reliever, and it kind of pulls you out of your bubble and takes self time for you to just enjoy something that you don't have to leave the house for. That you can have conversation with, and to me, it's like no different than going to the club. You know, it's like if I want to have fun, I just pop on, play video games. I could be in my pajamas, eat my snack, laugh, joke, talk about it. And I really think that is like absolutely the favorite. I do not like playing Red Dead when I'm alone. I don't like it. If I get on and nobody's on, I just get back off.
Now, do you who's been the this one's a good one because I know most of them are sub to this. Besides Lacey and Brandy, because we got to take family out of this.
Mm-hmm.
Who's been one of the best ones to help you on the game?
Oh man, put me on the spot like that. Dang. Um, I don't know because I feel like David has kind of been on so much with me and my sister and his stuff
Mm-hmm.
in the past that I feel like as far as like learning things, he's better at explaining like the right words for me to understand it better, like with my learning disabilities. But when it comes to like helping me actually get things done, I feel like you and Mel have been probably like the most helpful. Because Brandy's always going in her own direction. And I'm just running over here for this real quick. And then you're like, well, we're going to do this run. Well, let me, we're just doing this. But yeah, I'll help you. And so I feel like she's very like, well, come on, Lori. And like, I don't feel like she helps me, but I feel like she's not as helpful.
Well, speaking of David, I told Lacey this, so he can easily play back with everybody again. He doesn't have to hide or run or anything. You know,
I have not played with him or talked to him in quite a while, actually. He has tried to play a couple times with us, but I've just told Lacey, like, look, I'd rather it just be us. Because he does try to control, I feel like, a little bit. Not necessarily what we're doing, but like he wants to kind of take over, sort of. Like, and it's really good coming from a helpful place, but again,
yeah.
I can only tolerate so much. So I haven't been on in a long time with him. I know he's got a girlfriend now and stuff, I hear. So now he moved in with her. I really don't know more than that.
I always thought he was gay. I'm sorry. I thought he was gay.
He always hit on me. There was some awkward moments, but I was very honest with him. And was just like, nah, bro, it's not. It ain't never gonna be like that. So like we can make our little jokes and whatever on the game, but like just know that ain't never happening. So yeah, no. I kind of knew he wasn't, but you never know with people. Like, you know?
So let's see here. What is a dream vacation that you've always wanted to have?
Any vacation that my family can go on together and not kill each other, or like my kids, and just be happy and not have all the stress of it and just it go smoothly. I don't care where that is, as long as it's not in the state of Texas or Oklahoma. My kids have never been on vacation. We went and done things, but we've never been on a vacation.
What would it take to get Lori pissed, to get you angry?
You know, ironically enough, there's not a whole lot. Like, I'll get mad about things, but I have a really good control over like mentally breaking down what it really means and like, is it offensive, is it not offensive, and really break it down before I react. But if you call me woman, like in a derogatory way, so like, woman, hand me that drink, or woman, can you make me a sandwich, that kind of thing, I absolutely lose my ever-loving mind. Like that will, you can call me a lot of things and I won't even bat an eyelash at it. But you do that to me and say, hey, woman, I'm like, no, bye, see you later. I will end you.
Just so you know, guys, don't ever call Lori a woman.
Yeah, but, I am one, but don't call me one. Like, don't be like, hey, woman, what do you think you're doing? Or, hey, woman, hand me this, because it comes from a place of slavery in my mind because of my ex-husband and being in a narcissistic relationship. So for me, it's a control thing, and you don't control me like that. We're equal. You respect me. If you ask me to hand you something, cool, whatever. But like, don't say, hey, woman. Like, it's degrading.
You also make tumblers, right?
I don't anymore because of the tornado tearing up all my supplies and my equipment. I'm slowly getting back to like purchasing things to do that. But yes, eventually I am going to get back to that. And a lot of my tumblers, believe it or not, survived the tornadoes. Like this one literally was found in the mud. It's not even missing a rhinestone, like from the tornado. Didn't crack, nothing. So there is still cups with epoxy too that didn't even budge. And I was just like, I'm gonna start calling these things tornado-proof tumblers instead of Lori tumblers.
Would you rather go hunting or would you rather go fishing?
Hunting.
Would you rather go to the mountains or the beach?
Mountains.
Don't want to get in the water with no sharks, huh?
No, not particularly. I mean, do I want to go to a beach because my kids have never seen a beach? Yes. I would love to go to a nicer beach than where I've been. I've only been to South Padre Island. So I would like to, yes. But am I trying to go out in the water like that? No.
what's your biggest pet peeve?
Hmm. Putting empty shit back in the fridge and not telling me you're fixing to run out of something.
If Mel's
My
watching,
daughter will say, "Hey, mom, I need cat litter," or "Hey, mom, I need cat food. You couldn't have told me 2 days ago before your cat ran out. You got to tell me when the cat doesn't have it, and then I don't have money to go get it." Like, it bugs me. And if you put this much milk back in the fridge, why? Just why? I might as well peg you in the head with it. Why?
I'm guilty because if I have like some kind of tea and there's like barely any left, and Mel will be like, What is this? What is this?" I'm
Why did
like,
you even do that? Just dump it out or pour it in your cup.
I know I'm learning to do that more now, but yes, that gets on her
And I think
nerves
that
too.
just comes from a mom place. Like, that's my mom's, like,
Right. So what did so what would you tell your younger self if you could now? If you can go back into time and tell your the younger teenage Lori, what would you tell her?
not to stress out so much about people's opinions and thoughts and who you think you need to be, um, because those played such a big part in the struggles that I had went through after high school, through high school, trying to learn into my adulthood, that I feel like I didn't really know. I never really truly knew like the real me, and I still don't feel like I know the real me. I feel like I have a bad habit of changing for the people I'm with or around to meet their stigma.
Right.
Um, I'm better about that, but if I could go back and tell myself, that would be the one thing would tell myself for sure.
You can't make everyone happy unless you're happy yourself. Can't
Right.
tell anyone.
Right.
But from what I heard, you have been doing better on that. So
I have. I mean, I'm still struggling with a lot of mental health issues. It's more anxiety now than it is depression, um, panic attacks, things like that. But it has been a very rough year. And it wasn't even just that, it was the ending to me and Robert's relationship after 8 years. It was the moving on and starting over again and walking away and starting my kids over through everything and Zach moving in with Brandy, and which I love her, but it still bothers me that he's there. But because he's 20, I can't stop him. So, just the overall changes that I'm going through with everything, including my daughter being a senior this year, and she's gonna graduate, and she's got her boyfriend, and they're gonna eventually live together. Like, I'm getting to that empty nesting phase of life that terrifies the shit out of me. Plus, my daughter has a driver's license now, so that's a whole thing. So it's going through those kind of milestone changes on top of that stuff that has really been difficult for me.
So I have to ask you: Did you watch 1883 and 1923?
I have not seen the 1923. I have seen 1883, and in fact, I watched 1883 before I ever even watched Yellowstone, and then I watched Yellowstone.
Smart, smart. I have not watched Yellowstone. I've only watched 1883 first. So then I'm watching
I was
1923.
very sad about 1883 because I felt like it should have went longer than it did.
Hmm.
Um, and the ending was just whatever. But like, I mean, it explained it, but you have to watch Yellowstone. But by the time you get to what season the last season we were on, it'll kind of start tying in more to that series they came out with or whatever it was, whatever you want to
Yeah,
call it,
absolutely.
miniseries.
I think Tim McGraw is like in the flashback. He's kind of like a cop or someone that takes over the land and all that. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I saw the
Oh,
flashbacks on
baby's
Yellowstone.
screaming.
What is what is one thing that what is like an animal or a thing that scares you the most?
I'm scared of a lot of animals, believe it or not, being an animal person, mostly bugs. Um, I don't like June bugs or cicadas, like mostly. wasps. That's all common stuff. But I I think I'm more scared of June bugs than anything.
You're not scared of spiders or snakes
Oh,
or
I hate
anything?
spiders to death, but it depends on the spider too. Because like those little cobweb daddy long legs that aren't as big as daddy long legs that live in your get in your houses, those don't bother me. I name those. Or like fly spiders, those don't bother me. But wolf spiders, tarantulas, brown recluse, those kinds of things. I'm like the no ones. I'm like, you got to go.
And they're fast too when you try hitting them.
I also don't like banana spiders. Well, they're not really called banana garden spiders. The big yellow black ones.
Hmm.
They're harmless. They won't hurt anything but eat bugs. But they scare the shit out of me. They're so big.
I have to ask you here, since everybody during the pandemic watched this, um, Tiger King. Did you like Tiger King, or did you
Yeah.
like Carol Baskin, or both, or both of them can
I
go?
don't like Carol Baskin. I definitely think she killed her husband and fed her to a tiger. I don't think there's any other explanation for that. Um, I think Trump should have pardoned Joe Exotic just for the comedy fact of it. Although, can I just say, I'm praying for that man because he is going through cancer treatment right now.
Yeah,
So
he is.
I'm praying for him and his family of people out there because he has the other health issues. No, I totally think they should do a follow up. We were just talking about this the other day in the car. I think they should do a follow up on where he's at now since Trump hasn't pardoned him. Also, he is, you have to have so many votes when you're running for president and get the votes to get up into the presidential race. And there's so many people that run that we don't even know about on a yearly basis. He's actually won for the presidency that was trying to run for president this year
Uh,
for
who
the
knows?
2024.
Who knows? Maybe I might put his name in next year.
I really think if Matthew McConaughey ran, I would vote for him hands down. He could run the country.
What is some guy celebrity that people find ooh and ah about that you're like, no, like absolutely
Dwayne
not.
Johnson.
Oh,
I like his movies and stuff, but I just don't think he's all that. I like his Elvis stuff. I think he's a genuine person, like his real stuff that he posts, about his family and stuff. But I don't think he's all that when it comes to videos and films and stuff.
so you're not into the whole like the Rock being shriveled up, like muscled up, and all of this, and
I don't
big.
care. That does not matter to me at all.
Honestly, Mel Mel hates him. I don't know why.
I don't hate him. I just feel
Well,
like he's like, and that's part of his persona though, is to be like kind of full of himself. But like, it just gets old.
I think she's just tired of seeing him in every movie. It's almost like he's in everything that he like a movie comes out, there he is. A movie comes out, there he is.
Yeah, but I don't feel that way about John Cena. I like John Cena. I don't know. Maybe because I feel like I said, it's that persona of like him being full of himself and he's better than everybody else, like mentality in the movies, like that character that they portray him as, and I feel like that makes him more like unattractive, like in general.
I know that you're a Dukes of Hazzard fan, so I have to ask you this: Catherine Bach or Jessica Simpson?
Catherine Bach all the way. Are you kidding me? If anybody wanted a buckle bunny for the show, they picked the best one because that's all Jessica Simpson is the buckle bunny.
Is this chicken or tuna? I mean that's
And
the
when
reason
she
why she got
redid the Boots song, Boots Are Made for Walking, I wanted to vomit so bad. It's a horrible version.
so why Catherine Bach over Jessica Simpson? Like
Because
what
she's
makes her?
classic, she's timeless. I feel like she put more sexy into the character and she made the character look smarter. And I feel like Jessica Simpson made that character look dumber than a box of rocks. Plus, she's horrible as a brunette. And I don't know. That was not the right person for that role.
What about Johnny Knoxville and Sean William Scott? Do you think they did Bo and Luke pretty well, or do you think that they could have had
I
two
think they
different
did
ones?
it. Like for the type of, and I get it was kind of on a, I felt like it was on a comical kind of style, like to have those like weird personas play them. But I definitely feel like they fit the part. Do you
All
feel
right,
better, baby?
this gonna be the last little rapid fire question. With all the people that you know that you played Red Dead with, if you were to cast every one of us in a role in the Dukes of Hazzard, who would you cast? There we go. This is a good one.
Oh my God. Okay. Well, I feel like you and Stevie would be Luke and Bo. And I feel like Aunt Brandy would be Aunt Brandy would be, oh my God, the sheriff. I cannot think of his name right now. What was his
Oh, oh no.
and I feel like Lacey would be like the side guy to the sheriff that he's always yelling at. And I
Enos.
feel like Mel would be Daisy. Daisy. And I
What
feel
would
like Yi would just be like a stand-in. He would just be like, I'm over here, guys. Like, whenever you're ready to put me in, I'm here.
Ye would probably be Cooter.
He could, well, he could, but I just feel like Brady is so bossy like that.
I thought you were about to say Brandy was going to be Boss Hog. I was like, oh good lord, no.
No, Lacey maybe could pull that off, but like, or maybe Mel even, but like, just personality wise, I don't know.
So who would be so out of me and Stevie, who would be Bo and who would be Luke?
I feel like Stevie would be Luke and you would be Bo.
I have to dye my hair blonde now. All right.
What are you so itchy for, Marty? You're itching.
I have to ask you this too. Would you um would you rather would you rather own a horse or own a motorcycle?
A horse.
I already know the answer to this, but I'm gonna say it anyways. Trump
Okay.
or Biden?
Trump.
Woo. Well, Lori, I know it's your your beau's birthday. Thank you for coming on. I know we've been on here for like an hour for you, so I'm going to give you a
Yeah.
chance to go spend some time with them. And thank you for the interview. And I know some of them are going to see this later, and I'm pretty sure Brandy will be like, "What do you mean I was Roscoe B. Caltree?"
I know. It's gonna that's what I was scared of. Like I'm like, you put me on like death sentence over here. I'm gonna be getting text messages.
Actually, she may not have seen it, so I'll probably, if I see her later on there, I probably won't even tell her.
Who knows? Who knows?
But anyways, I will definitely give you the link to this once everything's done. Is that way you can.
That's fine. Well, thanks for having me on the show.
Thank you for coming on the show, and hopefully the house will be rebuilt for you guys, and you guys can move in and live that
Slow and
Texas life.
steady wins the race. It's on God's time, not mine. So that's the way I
Exactly.
view it.
All right. Well, well, take care and have a good day, and we'll see everybody later.
All right, bye.
Bye.